Raider Nation. Thank you for joining us on the Only Nation podcast, brought to you by the Raider Ramble. My name is Heidi, but you may know me as Kevlar Prom Dress or even Raider Ladybug. I'm here with Raider Homer and T3 Raider Facts, and we're ready to talk some Raiders football together.
Always ready to talk Raider football, even after we get our asses kicked.
We are heading to the bright lights of New York City in search of win number 7. Let's go.
Let's go. Today on the show, we will revisit the site of a bad Raiders loss. So we go back to Atlanta and discuss the disastrous 43-6 loss to the Falcons. We will then turn the page and set our sights on New York, a pivotal game against the Jets, in hope of turning things around. On a brighter note, we will also be announcing the winner of one of 2 customized Raider jerseys that we're giving away between now and the end of the season. So stay tuned. There's still one more opportunity to win, and we'll tell you how. And again, I'd like to thank T3. He's very passionate about these customized Raider jerseys from the Raider Image in Las Vegas, courtesy of the Raider Image. Thank you, T3, and thank you, Raider Image.
All right, we would love to hear from you, Raider Nation, so here's how you can get in touch with us. Leave us a message on the Only Nation podcast voicemail line at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Be sure to leave us your name and address when you leave your message, or you can leave us a text message. Our email address is onlynationpod@gmail.com, and we can also be found on Twitter and Instagram at onlynationpod. You can also check us out on Facebook and YouTube at the Only Nation Podcast. So be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on all your favorite social media accounts and podcasting apps. And don't forget to send us a message with your name and address, and we'll get some free Raider merch sent out to you. Also, check out our website at onlynationpod.com. And if you haven't done it already, make sure you do it soon, so you will be eligible to win between now and the end of the regular season.
All right, and before we get into the show, I just want to give a shout out to my new brothers and sisters, the Raiders of the Far North in Anchorage, Alaska. Angria Trask and I are the newest lifetime members.
Raider Nation repping up in Alaska.
Yeah, we're very happy to be part of the fold.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations to them for having us.
Yeah, that too.
And I'm humble, too.
I can tell.
I learned it from you, Homer.
I taught you well.
Monster drinks all around.
You did. That's right. Well, on to our first segment.
Here's the latest Raider news.
The Las Vegas Raiders got off to a very slow start, and the Atlanta Falcons ended up routing the Raiders by a score of 43-6 at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. The Raiders will now prepare to make another East Coast trip, this time to New York, to take on the winless Jets. And they better remain winless.
Yeah, this one, I'm worried about this one, I'll tell you that much.
I'm not worried about this one. I think they're going to come out on all cylinders.
They better.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a repeat of last year. I think last year we were at the same crossroads and we kind of flopped a bit. But this year, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, hopefully the loss to the Falcons is a slap in the face, the wake-up call that this team needs, because they have to respond to that loss for sure. And if they go in flat and lose to the Jets, man, that could really be demoralizing for that locker room.
Oh, their playoffs basically are on the line. If they lose this game, they're done.
Yes. Yeah.
If we lose to the Jets, we don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
I agree.
Right.
All right. In the game against the Falcons, the Raiders won the toss, and they deferred to the second half, as has been their MO pretty much all year long. The Falcons got the ball first, and the Raiders' defense promptly shut them out on the first series. So let's credit the defense with coming out strong early.
No, I mean, they came out strong early in the game. The defense always seems to have a good stance at some point in the game. But then it just turned into a fiasco after the offense was dropping the ball. But yeah, the defense played pretty good in some spurts.
Well, it's hard for a defense to overcome 5 turnovers.
Yeah.
Really hard.
I mean, that is the biggest key.
Although it was nice to see Abram get on the board with his own interception.
I would have liked to have seen the Kwiatkowski interception stand up.
He got a sack, the lone sack, right? But he didn't do much else. I guess, he's always involved in the play being the middle linebacker, but he didn't have one of those 10 solo tackle games.
Abram was pretty good on the stat sheet, though.
I think he played with a lot more control this week than he has in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, it was a good side to see from him. Wasn't a lot of positives on the game, but that was one of them. After the first series, when the Raiders got the ball, they were quickly rewarded with a 1st and 5, as the Falcons had a penalty on their first defensive play. From there, the Raiders didn't do much and were faced with a 4th and short. Rather than punt, the Raiders decided to go for it early, a calculated risk. The gamble did not pay off, and it set up the Falcons with a short field and a gift field goal.
That wasn't necessarily the turning point in the game, but things started to come off the rails at that point.
Yeah, I think the roughing the kicker call was the turning point.
Well, the Josh Jacobs, when he ran into the defender and knocked him on his ass, blew him off his feet, and I thought that call really set the tone for the game, and it really demoralized the team. Because, that's a great play. What's a guy supposed to do? Josh Jacobs is shorter than the guy. He ran him over. That sets the tone for the rest of the game. And then the refs kind of neutered the Raiders at that point.
And that's the second time. That's the second time he's had that call against him.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's any other running back in the league that's had that call against him.
That's what I was going to ask, if you'd seen anybody else with it.
I've seen other infractions very similar to that, but they've never been called.
Right, because it's football.
Because it's been silver and black. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
And see, the refs, I don't know. You could see everybody, the refs start calling against the Raiders, right? All Raider fans start looking for anything, right? But there were some blatant no calls as far as the Falcons holding our defenders. From preventing from the sacks. There were guys that were behind them with the arm locked around their head, It was sad. So when the referees influence the game like that, and then we're making the mistakes, we're not that good. We can't overcome that. And I don't want to make excuses, but there was some back, like the Isaiah Johnson. I think it was 3rd and long, 3rd and 15th on the sideline. They called the pass interference, but they were just both of them were just kind of fighting off each other's arms. But even the announcer said that should have been a no call. But those kinds of plays, they influence the game. They kill the drives. And they make the other team feel like you can't overcome the other team and your own mistakes and penalties. So that was just a bad game. And it started with the officiating.
Yeah. All right, Homer, you live by Derek Carr's sword and you die by Derek Carr's sword. Why don't you tell us about his game?
Yeah, I like how y'all did this. Yeah,
Yeah.
This is funny. All right. Derek Carr had perhaps his worst day as a pro. Yeah, it was pretty bad. Although he completed 22 of 34 passes for 215 yards, he did have one interception, which was taken all the way back for a touchdown. And he was sacked 3 times, all 3 times resulting in lost fumbles. Carr finished with a QB rating of 70.1. Man, that was hard to say. That was really hard to say.
Well, I think we've hit bottom, so it's upward and onward from here.
Well, it's not just him. Yeah, Brandon Parker, the old Brandon Parker showed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
The old Brandon Parker showed up. He got beat on one of the other sacks. Waller got beat. He missed his guy. And then on the 3rd fumble, I think Colton Miller was pushed all the way back into Derek Carr's back. Our tackles, they got beat up. But that's the thing, though. That's what happens when you have a pass rush. Now, the Falcons defense, their defense isn't all that great, but they showed up, and that's the change of the game kind of shit right there, what their defensive ends were doing to our tackles. That's what our guys got to show up and do. But yeah, Derek Carr, he couldn't hold on to the ball at all. What is that, 6 total, I guess, this year?
I think 8.
Or 6 lost at least. Yeah, it's pretty
That's
bad. He's got to hold on to the ball, but overall, this is a shitty game.
Yeah.
I'm still not going to hear the Carr haters say all this and that. You can bash on them because you want to. You've been waiting to come out and bash on them. So that's a given. But
they're out chirping and chirping.
Well, I will say this. Even Hall of Fame quarterbacks have a bad game every now and then. Now, this was a totally bad game. Awful. But it was only one game. If he can turn it around and continue to perform like he's performed most of the season, the Carr haters have to shut up again. Look
at Kenny Stabler, how many multiple interception games he had. He had a 6 interception game. He had, I think, a few 5 interception games. I mean, quarterbacks are human. They're going to have bad games. And I know the car haters have just been chomping at the bit waiting to go after him. And it was one game.
Even before Stabler, Daryl LaMonica, that was Al Davis's guy. And he threw tons of interceptions.
Yeah, he did.
All right, well, Paul Gunther's defense actually stepped up. On the first series, they held the Falcons to a 3-and-out and then held the Falcons to just 2 field goals on the next 2 possessions, where they gave Atlanta great field position. Once on a failed 4th down conversion and another on a strip sack fumble. I mean, I guess, yeah, I have to give the defense a little bit more credit than what I want to, but sometimes on a short field, there's nothing they could do. But it would be great if they could, get a pick or something like that, just to change it around. We need this defense to score. We need that kind of a defense. We need some pressure up the middle.
It's time we start receiving gifts. We've been giving a lot of gifts away. It's time to start receiving gifts.
Yeah, and I think that what must not be missed, and I believe, Homer, you alluded to it earlier, was the offensive line. I mean, they were horrible. I know they've been mixing and matching the entire year, but gosh, when they failed as a team. It was just...
it was rough.
Yeah, it was just a poor game in every facet of the game.
They've held it together very well up to this point, but again, when it fell, you're right, it fell flat very quickly.
I mean, it's got everybody bummed out, scratching their head. We're all on the edge of our seats, like, oh boy, here we go again. At first that we were all talking about how easy that schedule looks. Well, it don't look easy anymore, right? So, man, this is something that the Raider Nation was not needing, did not want this to happen again for sure.
Yeah, I wasn't overlooking them at all, especially with Raheem Morris taking over. He's turned them into a decent team.
I think he deserves that head coaching job.
He does, but I would really love to see him as our defensive coordinator.
Hey, here's an idea. What about Patricia? What about Matt Patricia now as a defensive coordinator next year?
I say no to that one as well.
Matt Patricia ran Bill Belichick's defense. That's why it ran well in New England. He doesn't do good outside of Bill. And that's apparent by looking at his record with the Lions.
I would agree. I would say he is the Matt Flynn of defensive coordinators.
All right, cool. Let's get back on track. Hunter Renfrow was the leading receiver for the Raiders with 7 catches for 73 yards. And Nelson Aguilar was next with 5 catches for 54 yards. Henry Ruggs III only had 3 catches, but one of those was for 36 yards, which set the Raiders up for a 1st and goal inside the Falcons' 5-yard line, but they could not get into the end zone. Again, that's the drive where they had the 2 penalties, right? Back to back?
Back to back, yep.
Yeah.
1st and goal to 3, and if they had scored there, they would have taken the lead, and that might have been the momentum swing right there.
Yeah.
Well, on the defensive side of the ball, both Cleve Ferrell and LaMarcus Joyner were absent again, but the Raiders did get back both Mo Hurst and Corey Littleton. On the offensive side of the ball, Trent Brown remained out, and also missing were guard John Simpson, running back Jalen Richard, and quarterback Marcus Mariota. Every time I read that, it's like, well, yeah, he's out again this week. He's the highest paid backup in the league, probably in history.
This would have been his game, right? If he could have been healthy, this would have been his game to come in and take a shot, right? And see what he could do with the offense. But yeah, he can't get on the field. I'm curious what's going on with him now. Does he have a dead arm? What's going on? Is he not getting the offense? This would have been a perfect game for Marcus Mariota.
Do either of you guys see Trent Brown taking another snap as a Raider?
I do.
I mean, we need him.
I think he'll be back for the Colts game. I think that's the plan. And I think that he's looking, I guess, for next season as well. So he needs to ball out kind of like he did against Kansas City. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping that they hold him out one more week, that we don't need him, and that he's ready for the Colts game.
Well, I know he's not playing this week, and I won't be surprised if he doesn't play another snap. Not surprised at all. His heart isn't in it.
I mean, at this point, it's 2020. Nothing would surprise me either.
Let's just keep our fingers crossed and let's see. Now, penalties became one of the focal points of the game against Atlanta. Silver and Black amassed 141 penalty yards, with several coming on momentum-shifting plays. A running into the kicker penalty on a missed Atlanta field goal, a penalty that wiped out a Nick Kwiatkowski interception, and back-to-back offensive line penalties, which moved the Raiders out of a touchdown that could have put them in the lead at the beginning of the second quarter. All bad things.
Yeah. Again, these penalties, they set the tone, I think, overall. More, if not as much, than the turnovers. Because you can't overcome those kind of penalties. Back-to-back in the red zone. A penalty that wipes out an interception. And the running into the kicker, that was maybe the 5-yard variety. But I could have sworn he was thrown, or hooked. I think the guy he blocked two guys. He hooked them both and brought one down and then rolled the other guy over. I mean, that was a terrible call. 5 yards, if anything, and that still wouldn't have given him the first down unless it's an automatic first down. I think it is an automatic.
When he ran into the kicker, I was thinking it was going to be a 5-yard penalty. So the 15-yarder really surprised me.
I don't know. That was then again the Isaiah Johnson pass interference, the leading with the helmet on Josh Jacobs. And then the blatant holding calls on the Falcons offensive line holding our defenders. All that shit really it was disheartening to look at as a fan. And the players are seeing that too.
I mean, Max Crosby could have filed a police report for getting assaulted and mugged.
I think he's probably among several. Yeah. And Homer, I think I can refer to the same one that you're talking about. I saw a picture that was frozen and put on Twitter where it showed I think it was the left tackle for the Falcons, had his arm completely around. He almost had one of the Raiders players in a headlock.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, how do you miss that? That's when the Falcons were backed up. I guess inside their 15-yard line or whatever. Their backs to the end zone. So, I mean, though you never know. That kind of you can create the pressure, and he throws up that ball for an interception or something. I mean, call it or don't call it at all. I mean, it was so lopsided. Normally, of course, I always don't like the referees, but I think this was the most blatant one I've seen in a long, long time where the referees really influenced the game in a negative way, and they only called it one way, one-sided, So that's what stood out to me.
In this particular game, I have to agree, and the more lopsided the game was going to get, the more lopsided the calls were going to get as well. Now, I think sometimes that's just human nature, but let's sidestep it. And let's report on two pieces of news that are happening. We did find out this week that Derek Carr and his wife Heather welcomed a new little girl into the fold. Her name is Brooklyn, and it's highly coincidental that her name shares a very close resemblance to the place her daddy will be playing on Sunday, just across the river in New Jersey. And we also found out the NFL Network announced that the Raiders and Dolphins game will be played on prime time on Saturday night, December 26th, the day after Christmas, as part of Week 16 action. It just might end up being a playoff decider, so make sure you stay tuned for that.
Look, maybe could that have been on Derek Carr's mind, knowing that his wife was expecting? You think that has anything to do with it?
Nah.
You never know.
Still, man, this would have been a great game for Mariota if we could get on the field.
I think any game would be a great game for Mariota to get on the field. Just not as a Raider.
And also our hearts go out to Trent Sieg and his wife, who also announced that they lost their baby. So thoughts and prayers out to Trent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the Sieg family.
Absolutely. Well, the Raider family is strong. We got you back, Trent.
Definitely. Okay, so here's a fun question. If you guys could hang a Raiders banner anywhere in New York City, where would you hang it and why? I'll give you mine first. I would hang it at Madison Square Gardens because the Knicks aren't going to be putting a banner up there anytime soon.
Ooh, ouch.
God.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's all right.
Homer?
Okay, it's not necessarily New York, but it is New Jersey where the game's actually going to be played at. So I would go to the Irish Cottage Inn with the Black Hole, the New Jersey chapter. so I can hang my Austin banner up there. That would be cool to be able to go up there and see Splatterhead and them and hang out with those guys.
I'm going a little more classic here. I'd hang it right in front of Radio City Music Hall because I love it when the Raiders play sweet music at the expense of every other team in the NFL.
Ba-dum-bing.
There we go.
Well, there you go.
Okay, and T3, why don't you tell us another rendition of Heidi's High Five?
And now it's time for another Heidi's High Five.
All right, now with this week's High Five, I want to try and bring a smile to your face. And I'm going to attempt to do that by quoting Snoop Dogg as a tip of the cap to him for winning over Twitter this past weekend for his boxing commentary. Number one, at the end of the game, I was saying, it's all because of you. I'm feeling sad and blue. You went away. Now my life is filled with rain. Rainy days indeed, and it certainly felt like a rainy night in Georgia. Time to put this one in the rearview mirror. Number two, groovy like a drive-in movie. Get back to the run game, the dominating blocking scheme. Get Waller into the game early. Have the receivers go deep enough to pick up first downs. And ball security, please. Number three, you should think about it. Take a second. Matter of fact, you should take 4B and think before you F with little skateboard P. And with that, I want each and every man on the Raiders to think about his individual assignment and what he can do better. And that goes for coaches as well. Number four, if you play me close, you're on a red beam. Must I remind you, I'm only here to twist you. Okay, you got the weapons, so use them. Aguilar, Ruggs, Brian Edwards, maybe for a couple of catches. Zay Jones, Waller, Ruggs, and even Foster Moreau, who has lately been pictured on the back of a milk carton. Use them all. And number five, Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. Raider Nation, we need to stand tall, stand proud, shake this off. This is no time for self-doubt. Just got to brush the dirt off ourselves and go back in. This is make or break week. And that is this week's version, courtesy of Snoop Dogg, Heidi's High Five.
For shizzle, my nizzle.
What does it say about me that I understood absolutely none of those references?
That you are totally not cool.
I am not. I am such a dork. My idea of rap is Eminem and Tupac.
Oh, God. Did you have to say Eminem?
Yep.
Oh,
he's hot.
I like Eminem.
I'll take Tupac. Yeah, that's for sure.
I like Eminem. I like the peanut variety and the crispy variety.
I always liked Southern hip hop though, so like think UGK, Scarface, and the Ghetto Boys, stuff like that.
I guess T3 is just cooler than all of us.
I did some deep digging on that. Let me tell you, I wanted to come up with some different references. I like groovy like a drive-in movie.
Watch, COVID's gonna bring back drive-in movies. Watch.
It has.
Yeah.
It's like a big thing now. Okay, predictions for the upcoming game against the Jets.
All right, let me lead off with this one. I was calling for a blowout last week, and it was, but yeah, that the other wrong way. So this week, I'm going to say 30-13 Raiders.
I always pick us to win, so maybe I should pick us to lose. I don't know. This one, I am worried about this game. You know, you look at the Jets. They've played some pretty tough teams: Buffalo, Indianapolis, Arizona. Buffalo twice, Miami twice, the Chiefs, the Patriots, the Chargers. This team has been punched in the mouth. They do not want to go winless. We're reeling, man. We're reeling right now. We're backstepping. We are sliding, slipping. We're all over the place. I'm worried about this game, so I think we might actually lose this game. And I think we'll lose this game. It's probably something like 35-31, something like that.
Wow. Walk on the wild
devastating.
side.
But this is kind of like this. This is kind of like if I say we lose, maybe we'll win.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm saying we'll win the last couple of weeks, so let's just go with
You're
that.
You're just afraid of that devastating Adam Gase offense.
Hey, I don't know. I saw that kid go for a run for 46 yards, against Denver on prime time. And one thing that we cannot do is keep contained. Quarterbacks can run on us. I'm telling you, this game, oh God, I don't know.
Well, hopefully we get Cleve Furl back this week, and that can change a lot.
Yeah, it can.
We'll see.
All right, and I'm going to go. It's going to be a cold weather game, so probably not that high scoring. I'm going to go 24-13 Raiders.
Maybe we'll see some more Grapple.
Ooh, I love Grapple. We've almost had a little bit of a Grapple here in Alaska this last few days.
There you go.
All right. Give us a call, Raider Nation, at 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Leave us a voicemail or a text message at that number, or send us a message via social media, and we'll share your thoughts.
And in this week's messages, for some reason, there weren't many. Wonder why. But we do have one from Craig from Oklahoma. And it simply says this: car haters have plenty to talk about today. WTF.
Agreed.
I mean, they just don't know how to stop. They can't stop themselves. They have a lot of hatred in their heart for Derek Carr. That's all it is. And people can say, well, we just want to win. It's like, duh, dude, every Raider fan wants to win. There's not one of us that wants to lose. It is what it is. They're not going to be happy until he's gone. And that's it. It's always going to be like that.
On the day after Derek Carr does poorly, it's almost like Christmas Day for the haters.
It is.
They love it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do.
Heidi, do you have something special for us?
I do indeed, and it's something very special. Very special. Today is the day we announce who won the very first customized Raider jersey from Raider Image. And the lucky winner
is Douglas Sheffield.
Who's that?
Douglas Sheffield forgot to enter.
Oh. Damn.
Yeah.
I know that guy.
I know that guy too. The lucky winner also was the first person to enter, coincidentally, is Chris, Bourbon Raider.
Ah.
Nice.
Bourbon Raider.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Chris. T3 will be getting a hold of you to let you know that you are the lucky winner, and you can give him your selection for what you would like on your jersey.
By the time this airs, hopefully that will already be taken care of.
All right, and all we ask is that you take a picture of it, post it on Twitter, post it on Facebook, wherever you live on social media, and let everyone know where you got it, and tell them to join next time. Yeah, tag us. For everyone that did enter, if we haven't sent you stickers yet for the pod, we will be getting some out to you. I just sent some out to Scotland today.
And we have one more
awesome
jersey
sauce
to give away between now and the end of the season.
Woohoo! Hopefully Douglas Sheffield wins that one.
So if you've already entered, we will roll over your entry into the second drawing, but be sure to share, because that gives you extra entries into the contest, which is probably why he won, because he shared.
Here we go. Sharing is caring.
Boom.
Sharing, yes. T3, why don't you tell us something that Homer might not have known?
Hey Homer, did you know?
All right, in this week's episode of Homer Did You Know, I'm going to go way back to January of 1983. And the New York Jets were facing the Los Angeles Raiders in a divisional playoff game. It was the last time these two teams met during the playoffs. Now, the Jets won that game by a score of 17-14. But what is really interesting is something that happened during halftime. As the teams were headed to the locker rooms, Jets head coach Walt Michaels was handed the phone. The voice on the other end claimed to be Jets owner Leon Hess. What followed was a tirade, making Michaels feel the heat for his Jets underperforming. Michaels knew it was a prank, but his anger bubbled over. Confident that the call came from Al Davis, Michaels blurted out, "I'm going to have something special to say about this damn Raider organization," as he hung up the phone. Now, Walt was convinced the prank was the work of the Raiders. As it turns out, though, the call came from a New York City bartender. After the game, Michaels had said, "I just want to say that whatever member of the Raiders organization that called me on the phone at halftime and told me the owner wanted to talk to me, his initials are AD, and I don't care if he knows it or not." So the question is, how did a bartender manage to make a phone call and catch an NFL coach going into the locker room at halftime to begin with? Well, the security guard who answered the phone later said that the guy on the other end of the phone identified himself as Leon Hess, the owner of the Jets, and said he wanted to talk to Michaels. The security guard had remembered that sometimes former LA Rams owner Carol Rosenblum would call down during halftime, and since Walt happened to be in the hallway, he just gave him the phone. The call ended up lasting only about 30 seconds, and in that call, the bartender, disguised as the Jets owner, told the coach that his team had to fight harder in the second half, go out and kick hell out of the Raiders, and to make defensive end Mark Gastineau stop doing his sack dance because he looked like a real jerk. The bartender heard that Al Davis was getting blamed for the prank, so he decided to call the press and give his side of the story. I thought that was a hilarious little side note to this storied rivalry between the Raiders and the Jets, although it all happened in L.A. way back in 1983. And that, little side note to the upcoming Jets-Raiders game, is this week's version of Hey Homer, Did You Know?
Yeah, no, I did not know that. It's pretty funny, though. That sounds like something Al Davis would do.
Absolutely.
Just to mess with people. That was such a great segment, T3. I appreciate all your hard work, but let's get to the best segment of the episode, Heidi's Heroes.
This week's hero was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the first round in 2007. He has over 10,000 career rushing yards and won the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks. As a 5-time Pro Bowler, the All-Pro is known as much for his contributions on the football field as his contributions to the community. Marshawn Lynch is the co-chair of the Family First Foundation, along with his cousin, former NFL quarterback Josh Johnson. Their foundation serves Oakland, California, by teaching kids how to be young entrepreneurs, explore architecture and design, develop culinary skills, learn coding, and complete their education. Marshawn is known for being a huge but quiet contributor to his community. With that in mind, the former Raider found himself on the streets of Hawaii last week near Aloha Stadium. What was he doing? Well, he was helping hand out 200 free turkeys to drivers to take home for Thanksgiving dinner. Quirky? Of course, it's Marshawn. But it's just a reminder of how he continues to be a Heidi's hero.
Now, I have a bonus Homer Did You Know as an add-on to this week's Heidi's Heroes. This is a complete surprise to both of you. Now, Marshawn, when he was with the Raiders in 2018, was nominated as the Walter Payton NFL Man of the Year, which goes to the person who's the outstanding humanitarian for each team. He wasn't selected as the NFL's Man of the Year, but he was nominated and was a finalist. Now, do you know who the only Raider is in history to have won the NFL's Man of the Year award? Any guesses?
Lincoln Kennedy.
No, it wasn't Lincoln Kennedy. It goes all the way back to the year 1974, and the winner, believe it or not, the NFL Man of the Year in 1974 was George Blanda.
Nice.
1974. Now, the winner in 2012 is someone who is currently on the Raiders roster, and that would be Mr. Jason Witten.
Nice.
Huh.
And that is an additional segment of Homer Did You Know as an add-on to Heidi's Heroes, talking about mixing it up.
That's pretty cool, though, what Marshawn does for his community. I remember wanting to draft that guy, though, coming out of college, man. I was hoping we would draft him. I was like, man, he's an Oaktown kid, man. We need to get that guy. Look at him run over everybody. He's crazy. Let's get him. You know, I'm glad he ended up playing for the Raiders, even though he ended up defending Marcus Peters on the field. That pissed me off.
Yeah, whatever.
Whatever.
It was so funny watching him give out those turkeys because the people are just sitting there in traffic watching this, big old dude come over, just flinging turkeys everywhere. And they were like scared. Like, should we open our window to take them? What is this guy doing?
It was pretty funny, but it was totally Marshawn.
It was. It almost reminded me of the WKRP turkey drop.
I think a couple of people actually made that association on Twitter.
Really? Who knew turkeys couldn't fly? That episode's a classic.
As God is my witness, I thought they could fly.
Coming from a guy who called him Chai Chai Rotterfly.
Yep.
All right, thanks again to our listeners for joining us on the Only Nation podcast.
Okay, Raider Nation, here's an important number for you because it could win you a free personalized Raider jersey. Give us a call at 904-701-8667. Leave a voicemail or send a text message to that number. You can get entered to win a customized Raider jersey from the Raider image. You can also email us at onlynationpod@gmail.com, and you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at onlynationpod. And be sure to search for us on Facebook and YouTube. Just search the Only Nation Podcast.
Be sure to like and subscribe on your favorite social media account and podcasting app. Make sure to leave your name, address, and phone number. Do that, and we'll register you for one more giveaway of a personalized Raiders jersey sometime before the end of the season. Make sure you get in your info to win your own custom Raiders jersey. 904-701-8667. That's 904-701-8667. Call us now and join the Only Nation podcast family. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Good luck, and remember, the more you share, the more chances you have to win.
Until next time, everyone, go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Time to make our way up to the Big Apple in a big win and go Raiders.
Raiders.
Raiders.